Thanks for joining me. I'm Scotty D, and this is a Guild GAD-30P CNAT. Now, I know it's long, but the thing to know that the P stands for Paduke. And I want to say thanks for joining me for another edition of Say No to Crack. We've got some big old cracks here on the back of the Paduke. We're going to use a whole bunch of glue. Stick around. And this is the main glue I'm going to be using. It's the hot hide glue. It's collagen natural glue. It's been used for thousands of years. Let's look inside this guitar. Okay, we've also got some headstock damage. I think when they swapped out these cheap Amazon tuners, they blew out the finish on the top side here, the headstock. So we're going to have to take all the hardware off of this and start fresh. We'll also be re-gluing all of the back braces. All four of them are loose. We'll be doing a setup. We're going to lower the string action and straighten the neck. But first we'll do the braces. That way we'll have a back that is held together. And you can just see. You can't just go filling this crack without addressing the main problem, which is the back braces are loose, which is what I think they did, and then they, the knuckleheads that worked on this mutilated it, realized after they got started is no, this ain't working. While the strings were still on and up to tension, I measured almost 25 thousandths of an inch relief in this neck. And then now without string tension, it's still 13 thousandths here. I'd like that to be about, dead flat, if not into a slight back bow with a, a positive number here on this gauge. Let's see if we can get a truss rod adjustment going. There's a hex fitting right here through the sound hole for this Guild, and what I'm seeing is it's completely not engaged at all, or it's broken. What's going on here? We might be okay. Yeah, we might be okay. It was just in the neutral position. It's probably a dual action truss rod. Now, let's see what that neck shows now. Okay, much better. 3 thousandths of an inch, 4 thousandths. Let's see if we can get it into a positive. One more turn. Okay, that's pretty darn tight. Yep, dead flat. Okay, that'll work. That will be fine. We'll look through the sound hole here. We'll start to see how the back crack is to the right of the center strip. And it's not attached, the back is not attached to the brace. On the treble side of the center strip, the brace itself is cracked, but on the bass side, the brace is not attached to the back wood. There's a little jack sitting on top of the brace, the back brace, and I have 2 cam clamps outside of the guitar. This will apply enough pressure where I can leave it clamped up and let it cure, let the glue cure. I'll use the hot hide glue. I'll warm up the inside of the guitar with a hairdryer. I've got the jack inside, but it's loosened. I'll use this syringe to apply the glue. It's 145 degrees. I'll place an endoscope inside of the guitar so y'all can see. After applying the glue to the cracks and underneath the brace, I'll stick my arm in there with a feeler gauge and spread it around as good as I can. Get it all clamped down and then wipe it up as good as I can with moistened Q-tips and paper towels. I let this first brace set for about 4 to 6 hours, and then I went back in and I glued up the other 3. And then I let that set overnight. So this is what it looks like. They were all still glued on either end. They're just all loose in the middle. So we'll let that set overnight. We'll come back in the morning and get started with that back crack. And I'm going to be using epoxy to fill the back crack. The crack goes all the way through, and there's just no way to get it to close back up. Someone's been in there monkeying around with their saws and X-Acto blades. You can see how they scratched up the finish. I'll just use masking tape on either side of the crack to make cleanup easier. And I'll mix up the G-Flex epoxy. This is the thickened epoxy from West Systems. It's a 1-to-1 mix.
I think I read somewhere that seemed like it wasn't supposed to be.
1 part resin and 1 part hardener. I also have my blend all powders ready to mix in as well. You can see the red. I have the wheat. I have a brown and a champagne color sitting there too that I won't use. But first I'll mix in just a pinprick of the red, which gives me a pinkish color. I'll use a hefty little scoop of this wheat color. And I gotta say, out of all the blend all powders that I've used this wheat color the most. It's a good match for spruce. It's a good starting point for almost any wood color. These two get me a tannish color, but I'm going for more of a reddish brown, so I'll drop in 1 drop of golden brown. Mix it well for a full minute. And I'll apply it to the crack with that flat craft stick. Just making sure to squeeze it in good. I can color it some more after it cures. This stuff takes a good 11 hours to cure. It's a slow cure. We'll just come back at it tomorrow, but first, application and cleanup. We'll rip off the masking tape. Clean up a little bit more with a moistened Q-tip. We'll flip it over and start working on this peg head. I had a little leftover epoxy. I put it in the 2 gaping holes for the first and second string peg hole. And then I'll put in a little bit of this StewMac number 10 CA glue, ultra thin, into those little areas that were lifted, and I'll accelerate over by the exhaust fan. This eliminates fumes out of my shop and directly into the attic on the other side of that wall there.
little bit of epoxy. All right, now.
Also, instead of going east to west,
24 hours have gone by and I'm down in the garage underneath my big filter fan. I've removed the nut from the headstock area here, the spring nut, and I'm using 220 grit on my random orbit sander. The headstock had a defect on it, also I call it poly milkiness. Sometimes these coalescent finishes, polyurethane, polyester finishes get this moisture underneath in between the wood and it leaves a cloudy mark. And this guitar had it in several areas, but it has it here in between the first two peg holes and up here at the top, right here. It's like a milkiness that I have to sand out. I just have to remove a couple layers of the poly finish. And there it is. It's all gone. It's ready to refinish. I'll do the same thing with the back because from all the monkey and all the horseplay, I'll say, that the previous tech did to this back crack, it didn't line up perfectly. One side may be a little higher than the other, and I need to level out all that epoxy and the scratches that they put in. So we'll just do the whole back. We'll sand it with 220 and we'll chase behind that with some 320. And then I was thinking about just spraying a fresh finish over the entire thing, but at this point it's starting to look good enough where I think maybe we can just get away with a satin finish on the back. We don't have to bring it back up to a gloss. You know, after it's been mutilated by someone else, you can't ever expect it to look brand new again. Plus, the guitar value isn't, you know, you couldn't sell this guitar for $1,000, I don't think. You could maybe get $400 for it if you wanted to sell it. See those spots there? That's what they call layering, where you can see the different layers of poly finish that were sprayed. I'm kind of sanding through different layers, but the higher up in grit that I go, and the more that I clean off the dust, it kind of disappears. I'm just using a wet paper towel here to clean up the dust. It's very fine dust. I've also wear a respirator and I have that filter fan running. It's a ceiling mounted jet filter. But yeah, I went ahead and took the Super Oscillix sandpapers, 360 grit all the way up through 1000 grit, and it gave me a pretty decent satin finish here. Now I'll do some pore filling because the random orbit sander pulled the original filler right out of the Paduke. It sanded through on one side of the crack, pretty much sanded all the finish off on one side of the crack, and it exposed the bare wood. So I'll fill in this, just do a real quick easy pore fill with this furniture repair stick. It's a dark brown, and it actually, once I do the cleanup here, you'll see it looks darn good. It's not like a rock hard perfect finish like they did at the factory, but it's good enough to see how this guitar sounds and looks, and you can always revisit it later if it becomes like a family heirloom or something. So here we'll see the raw wood is a little lighter color than the finished wood, and I'll go over top of it with this natural oak brush tip marker. Pretty good match for a quick touch-up repair. And the Paduke wood grain helps out a lot because it has a real linear look to it. After the 1000 grit, I decided steel wool. And then I might just do some on top of the steel wool rubbed out finish. We'll also be installing this sound hole pickup. Be my first time hearing one of these. These 2 screws hold it down the sound hole. And the end pin jack or output jack, just like any other Fishman LR bags, K&K, it's the same type of fixture there. You can see the USB charging port, and then it has some adjustments for the volume and tone. I'm going to put these economy locking tuners back on. They're not the greatest, but maybe they were better than what came from the factory. Put the saddle and the pins back in, and I'll string it up with some 11 through 52 80-20 bronze martin strings. This has a long scale, even longer than 25.5. I didn't measure it exactly, but it's more like 26-inch scale. Like a classical guitar scale. Very interesting. I'll use Tight Bond Original to glue the nut back in place. String it up to tension and let that glue cure for an hour or two. We'll finish stringing up the guitar. And clip the ends. And we'll give it a little sound demo. We'll see how that pickup sounds, and then we'll see how it sounds without the pickup. Just acoustic.
I charged up the pickup with the USB connector there, and sounds pretty good. I haven't adjusted it yet, but here it is just acoustically. Appreciate you guys hanging around to the end. I hope you had fun watching this one. It was epic. Appreciate you guys. Thanks a million. See ya.